It's October 31st, and for Halloween, you're going to a special one-night event. There's going to be door prizes, costume events, and all sorts of fun. The venue is a small cinema that originally opened as a dance hall in 1929 and became a cinema in 1938. Tonight, you'll be dancing along with other fans of the cult classic musical comedy, The Rocky Horror Picture Show. But you're extra excited because your tickets get you a swag bag and something else, a tour of the theater's back of house. So after you watch a newly engaged couple have a breakdown and be forced to visit the bizarre residence of Dr. Frankenfurt, you'll be staying behind in one of the most haunted buildings in Canada.
Yes, we've had people get feelings of almost like electricity going through their body. Some people don't feel anything, while other people will say, I can't be in this room. Last year we had one of our participants, she felt something in what I call it the cinema graveyard number 1, because it's it's in the basement.
I'm Nadine Bailey, and this is Haunted Canada. Today, we're taking a visit to the Towne Theatre in Vernon, British Columbia. Located about 5 hours from Vancouver and within the Okanagan Indian Nation's traditional territory is Vernon. Named after Forbes George Vernon, he was a pioneer, rancher, and former member of the Legislative Assembly of British Columbia who helped found the Coldstream Ranch and was a prominent figure in the region's early development. Over the past almost 100 years, the town has enjoyed the Towne Theatre, and it has become a beloved institution in the region. Through the vintage Art Deco-style doors located on 30th Avenue, visitors can experience films, live music, comedy, and a variety of performing arts. Rebecca Beck is the operations manager at the Vernon Towne Theatre, and she says that the theatre first opened as a dance hall in 1929.
We were originally built as a dance hall. We were one of the only dance halls in the Okanagan. We were known as the National Ballroom. Next door to us was the National Cafe, and on the corner was the National Hotel. So we were known as the National Block. And underneath our block here is a tunnel. And this tunnel system was created so that the cafe would be able to make food for the dance hall as well as the hotel. But those tunnels were also used to bring performers from the hotel to the theater, as well as for guests to get back to the hotel if it was raining outside or muddy. Those are the good reasons why the tunnel was used, but there's a lot of reasons why the tunnel was used. Rumors about what happened down there, which is why the basement can sometimes be a really creepy place to go.
By the late 1930s, dance halls were becoming out of fashion, but the golden age of cinemas was in full swing. By 1937, Jay Fitzgibbons, the Canadian director of theaters, announced in the Vernon News that the town would soon have the most modern and complete theater in British Columbia. The cinema was to be erected on the east end of Bernard Avenue, on the site previously occupied by the National Ballroom. The National Cafe Holding Company negotiated a lease under a long-term agreement to famous players, and local businesses were used in the construction of the new theater, which was designed by Vernon architect Richard Curtis. Machines were installed that could project a 200-foot beam of light onto the enlarged screen, specifically manufactured for color and picture. Plus, the sound system guaranteed to give viewers quality they had never heard before. The Art Deco-style building would be crowned by a 50-foot tower with a wide marquee under which customers would enter through the arcade, which was beautifully decorated in rose and silver. There was a spacious oval foyer, a check-in room which was attended to by a young lady, and the theater had ushers dressed in smart uniforms to take visitors to one of the 800 fully upholstered seats with ample legroom. On Monday, November 7th, 1938, The Pledge by J. Fitzgibbons became a reality when the Famous Players Canadian Corporation opened the new state-of-the-art Capitol Theatre. Glowing newspaper articles from the time remarked on the beautiful Art Deco style of the venue and called it one of the best in Western Canada. The first film was Valley of the Giants, an American Technicolor adventure film / lumberjack western directed by William Keithley, released by Warner Brothers on September 17, 1938. The film wowed audiences because of the theater's new, up-to-date color reproduction equipment, which made the towering Californian redwoods come to life. Since then, the theater has seen countless patrons as it remains a major entertainment hub in Vernon. But Rebecca Beck says employees over the years have been kept on their toes by the unexplained activities of one particular projectionist.
We call him Floyd. His name is up on the wall. All of our former employees on the stairwell that goes up to the booth, they sign their names. So it's pretty cool. You can go down the stairs and look at the wall, and there's names from 1938 all the way up until 2025. I don't know how long he worked here for, but back in the day, being a projectionist was very dangerous, because the film was treated with cellulose nitrate, which is incredibly flammable. And the way that the film was lit was with a flame between two carbon rods. And the projectionist's job was to use a hand crank to actually move the film closer or further away from the film to get the clearest picture possible. So today, for example, we just upload a film and it plays. Back then, the projectionist had to be actively involved in the switching of the reels and making sure that the picture was clear. So he would have been very involved in the theater, probably one of our first projectionists here. We were built in 1928 as a dance hall, and then in 1938, we renovated into a movie theater. So he would have been spending a lot of time upstairs. I'm not sure exactly when he started or when he passed. Those are all rumors. There aren't any news articles, but these are stories that have been passed down from longtime Vernon residents.
The legend goes like this. When Floyd wasn't risking his life as a projector, he was risking it all for the illicit love of a local woman that ended in tragedy.
There was a rumor that there was an affair happening with a married woman. She decided to end the affair. There are some people who tell the story that she was found dead at the bottom of the stairs. And then 2 weeks later, Floyd killed himself by hanging himself from the stairwell leading up to the booth. It almost looks like a railway spike. It's quite thick. It is stuck in the wall. We can't get it out. The former owner, he actually hammered the spike so that instead of sticking straight out, it's as flush against the wall as it can be. And he covered it with a poster because one of his employees refused to come upstairs because she said every time she came upstairs and then turned around to come back downstairs, she would see a face in the plaster near where the stake in the wall is. So he wanted to cover it up.
But covering up the spike did nothing to exorcise Floyd's ghost from the theater. Instead, he is one of the reasons the Vernon Towne Theatre has long been believed to be a hotbed for ghosts and spirits. Rebecca says that for decades, theater staff, including her, have witnessed unexplainable and terrifying occurrences.
So, former coworkers, what they've experienced is fresh footprints in a mopped floor. So, because we're a smaller theater, we don't have a huge staff. There's usually only 2 or 3 people working. Staff members have said that they've mopped the floor and they turn around and there's footprints in there. Seats in the theater have flipped down when there's no one sitting in there. For me, one of the first ghostly encounters I had here was involving a Kit Kat bar. we noticed that only Kit Kat bars would come flying off of our shelf. Or if you were the first manager in the morning, there would be a Kit Kat bar lying on the floor in front of the concession. It's like, what is going on?
To learn more about the visitors from beyond the veil, Rebecca invited an Indigenous elder to visit the theater.
Well, we discovered when I had one of the elders from an Indigenous community come into the theater, he said to me, I felt something as soon as I walked in. Do you mind if, would you take me around? And I said, absolutely. So I took him upstairs. He interacted with Floyd in one of the rooms. And then he took me into the projection booth and he asked me if I felt anything. And I said, no, except for it felt really cool. My legs felt really cool. And he said, that's because there's a little girl standing right there. And I was like, oh my goodness. And he goes, don't worry. She's not malicious, but she's mischievous. And he said, so you might see things move around or get tossed or whatnot. She's very playful. And then it made me think, oh my goodness, I wonder if she's the one who has been flicking the Kit Kat bars off of the shelf, because no other candy would fall on the floor. It was just Kit Kat bars. And when we stopped carrying Kit Kat bars for a while, we had no issues.
Rebecca says since then, she has encouraged staff to embrace their spooky side by hosting and welcoming paranormal enthusiasts and investigators.
We usually split up the ghost tours, basement and upstairs, because there's different energies and different vibes. In the downstairs, we like to talk about the different encounters that employees have had or what the paranormal teams have found. One of the paranormal teams that came through the theater last year, I was working in my office. I'm here to open the door and I get out of their way and let them discover whatever they discover. And one of them came and knocked on the office door and said, we keep on picking up the name Mary or something like that in the auditorium. And they had it was a woman repeating the name, but sounded like Mary, but they couldn't quite, it wasn't clear. And then I remember my daughter did a project on the Towne Theatre and went on the history. And I said, wait a minute. I found the old brochure that we had used from the 40s for her project, flipped through it, and there used to be an usherette named Marie who worked at the theater. So I was like, could it be Marie that you're picking up? And he's like, I think so. Went back in there and yeah, sure enough, picked up that name. Another encounter that I had that I tell people about is I was the first person opening the theater in the morning. And I go upstairs and I'm unlocking the doors that go to the booth, and I notice that there's a different sound. I was like, this is weird. I open the door and we have a digital projector that we currently use, but also the 35 mil projector that ran on film is still upstairs. And that projector was running. And I have no idea how it turned on. I called the manager who closed and I said, did you turn the 35 mil on, and why would you do that? And he's like, I didn't touch it. He's like, everything sounded normal. I called my boss, who knows more about the technology here, and I said, the 35 mil projector is running. And he goes, what do you mean it's running? And I said, listen, it is on. And he said, well, turn it off. I said, I don't know how to turn it off. I don't even know where it's plugged. I don't know how it turned on. So we had to call our tech in to come and unwire it, because we didn't even know that it was still wired in. We had no idea that it still had power to it. So that was one of my scary experiences, was we still don't know how that projector got turned on. But now, no, because we made sure that it was like all the wires. There's no power to it. So if it turns on now, that might be it for me.
Staff aren't the only ones who've experienced paranormal activity. Guests have even had some of their own personal encounters while exploring rooms in the basement nicknamed Graveyard Number 1 and 2.
We've had people get feelings of almost like electricity going through their body. Some people don't feel anything, while other people will say, I can't be in this room. Last year we had one of our participants, she felt something in what I call it the cinema graveyard number 1, because it's it's in the basement, it's around a corner, it's really dark, and it's where all the old seats from like the 30s all the way up through like the 80s, all of the old stuff was just thrown into this room. And this one woman, she's like, I can't be in here. And then she went around the corner and she took a picture, and she got an apparition on her phone. She could see it. And then we found out later, when I had another person come through the basement, they noticed that there was wax on either side of this door, colored wax. And this person said, based on my knowledge, you've got black, white, and orange wax. This is part of a ritual where someone tried to seal something evil in this room and purify the rest of the building so that there's something evil actually stuck in this room here, which just blew my mind. I'm like, that is so funny, because I had someone come through here and they walked in there and said, I can't be in here. There's like, it was hard for them to breathe. Their body was just reacting, and they walked out.
But why would this guest presume witchcraft? Well, it might surprise you to know that BC is home to a rich occult community and history. The province has long been rumored to be the hotbed of metaphysical activity. One of BC's earliest connections to the occult can be traced back to 1915, when philosopher Aleister Crowley visited Vancouver and founded a spiritual movement called Thelema, which took part in ceremonial magic and mystical teachings. The province's roots in witchcraft can also be traced back to the founding figure of Wicca, Gerald Gardner, and every summer, BC hosts a well-established witch camp which attracts practitioners from around the world. Rebecca says one thing is for sure: the occult in Vernon isn't mere gossip. It's woven into the community.
Well, the area is, it was known as like the witchcraft capital, but that's almost like a salacious term. I think it's because it's not in Vernon, it's more in the outskirts, where there was more of a natural community and people were more in tune with nature. So it got kind of a bad rap in Vernon, because Vernon used to be known as the Bible Belt of Canada. We had more churches in Vernon that per capita than any other city in Canada. And so anything outside of that, which was happening kind of in the country and the smaller towns, was viewed as, it was the opposite of what, yeah. So I think that's kind of why we're kind of called Supernatural British Columbia, because we are, there's a lot of nature. There's a lot of, people getting back to their roots, getting back to, connecting with nature. And as you know, there can be conflicts that arise based on that.
Rebecca believes BC's breathtaking landscapes can also add to the connection to the occult. That's because people may not know that Vernon is situated within a complex geological environment of the Okanagan Valley Fault System and is associated with repeated small earthquakes, some of which are felt locally.
I know, I wondered that too. Because this woman who was telling me about the wax also said that there's some kind of fault line underneath this area, like the entire Okanagan Valley, which people can really connect with. I don't know what that means. I'm not familiar with that spiritual side of things, but I know at least here in this theater, most people who come through the doors can feel something. Or the ones that don't, they don't want to. Because I do tours with people where someone has a strong reaction and other people are like, that was so interesting, but I didn't feel anything.
I should note, there is no scientific or factual evidence to suggest any connection between this geological fault system and paranormal activity. However, one source of paranormal-like stories in the Okanagan is the legend of Ogopogo, a creature associated with the deep waters of Lake Okanagan. Vernon is located on the northern tip of the lake, where in 1978, witnesses say they saw a creature with a head and 3 back humps before it disappeared under the surface. It sparked a lifelong history of sightings, as heard in this news report from Global News.
Nice easy breeze, cruising out across the lake, and we saw something in the water.
The story of Ogopogo has been around as long as the Okanagan has.
When an Ogopogo story goes online, we get tens of thousands of views. The attention is very quick to turn toward that story. And I think it's not just because it's silly or something of that nature. It's because it's a mythical creature that everyone can relate to. It's the Loch Ness Monster of Canada.
British Columbia's southern interior and Lake Okanagan are home to arguably one of the most infamous Canadian legends or mysteries, including the Vernon Towne Theatre. These stories are shared with lucky visitors every Halloween. That's when Rebecca often shares a terrifying encounter Jerry, the theater's original owner, had many years ago.
The old owner that I told you about before, Jerry, he had an experience that he shared with people. He used to live in Kelowna, and the highway can be kind of dicey when it's snowy out. So sometimes, whether it was too late for him to drive home or the weather was bad, he would spend the night in the office upstairs, which is adjacent to the booth. There was a couch in there, so he just, tuck in for the night. And he had the door locked upstairs. He was sleeping on the couch, and he was woken up by someone walking through the locked door and standing over him. And then the person walked right through that locked door and left. And Jerry got up, and he's like, I didn't see what I saw. There's got to be someone in here. He got up to see if maybe he didn't lock the door and that person actually walked through. And no, the door was in fact locked. So he never spent the night at the theater again.
Thank you for joining me as we explored the Vernon Towne Theatre, and a special thank you to Rebecca Beck, Operations and Marketing Manager, for taking the time to share the many stories of the theatre. Haunted Canada is sponsored by the Edmonton Ghost Tours. I will link it in the show notes. Haunted Canada is written and produced by me, Nadine Bailey, with senior producer Tila Velasquez. Production and sound design is by Rob Johnson, with help from Rosin Kufer. If you would like to support this podcast, please follow and share. And if you can give us a like and a 5-star written review, that is always appreciated. Also, you can follow me on our different social media platforms, including TikTok and my YouTube channel, Haunted Canada. If you have a ghost story, haunting, or true crime that you would like for us to cover on this podcast, please email me through the website, hauntedcanada.com. Thank you from all of us at Haunted Canada and Curious Cast. Have a good night, everyone, and stay haunted.